I'm Malcolm Van Delst, and these are excerpts from Shiny Pretty Gothic, book 3 in the Do the Wrong Thing series. First, I'm going to revisit a piece from a few weeks ago. Things weren't clear, I gather, from the feedback, so I've worked on it a bit, and I hope it's clearer now. Then I will continue where we left off last week. I'd do it if I could, says Bradley. Bradley is the brother of the poet Auden, and a friend of Michelle's roommate, Neil. Auden is not a poet, by the way. Well, not with words. He's high-end. He travels to meet bands like the Jefferson Airplane, Jefferson Starship. What are they called now? Mushrooms, acid, hash in all its forms, honey and cherry oil, black, brown, blonde. I'm trying to be poetic here. He's a drug dealer. Michelle, Neil, Bradley, and I drink wine around my dining room table. Girls are lucky, Bradley says, shaking his head and looking from Michelle to me. You don't have to work. And you can make money simply by taking off your clothes and posing naked. I see the sadness on his pimply face. He's got a long nose and scrawny frame. His Adam's apple bobs when he speaks. You don't know what you're talking about. If you were the kind of guy people wanted to see naked, you'd understand. I don't say this out loud. But if people won't let you do anything else, it's unfair, I say. Why would you want to work? If I could do something as easy as standing around naked to make a living, I'd do it. Because you're a sinner then, but I don't believe in sins anymore, because people won't respect you, because what do I have against porn? I don't say this out loud. A raw wind blows as I walk from St. Therese Metro, past low tin and concrete buildings with few windows. Even though it's only 4 metro stops from the one in the village, I've never been in this part of the city before. Leduc Manufacturing, Gupta Imports. Here it is. Danielle Tien Photography. Inside a gray, polished cement box, I see a wide, oblong window to the left. Some kind of control room, I guess. Behind me, a spool of vaguely cloudish material unfurls from the ceiling to hide the seam where the cement wall meets the floor. A stool sits in front of it. At the other end of the box, a man stands. Daniel Tien, I guess. My work is sexual but artistic, he says as he approaches. I love the female body. His ad in the back of the alternative newspaper had said the same. I try to smile, but I'm stiff with fear. My heart pounding so loud I can barely hear him. Not that it matters. We get right to work. Leave your clothes on that chair, he says, pointing to a chrome and vinyl bar stool near a door to the left of the oblong window. He goes back to the far end of the room and picks up a camera from a gray block that blends in with the walls. When I'm in my robe, he points to the stool in front of the backdrop. I sit and look towards him. His dark curls extrude from the camera, hiding his face. A rumpled, loose black jacket and pants hide his body. Shit. I blink back wetness, feeling my heavily mascaraed eyelashes stick. I blink more, trying to drive the tears back. Why am I crying? Shit. My bright red lips twist into a smile upon his command, and he clicks, takes the camera from his expressionless, tired face, examines me, and clicks some more. Okay, he says after 15 minutes. He goes back to the gray block and puts the camera down. I hesitate. I thought I'd be here longer. On the other hand, it's cold. I don't know this man. No one knows I'm here, and he hands me $100. So much for so little time. Way faster than art modeling. Thank you, I say. He nods. Exiting the building, wind pelts icy needles into my face. I pull my coat tight, bend my head, and hurry across slippery sidewalks to the metro station, desperate to leave this desolate area, an almost suicidal depression wrapping itself around me like a wraith. Bradley is wrong. It's humiliating to sell your body for sex, I think. Reader, this is 1986. Photographs of naked women were a big part of the porn industry. The internet hadn't been invented. There was no camming, Pornhub, or easy, cheap access to still and video cameras. The pics the man took would appear in a magazine of some stripe. There were many publications of varying quality and, what's the word, respectfulness? Some mags were printed on cheap paper, black and white, contained grainy photographs of bony women, old women with slack skin and tattoos. You get the picture. Others were printed on higher quality paper in color, better looking girls, less grimy, and onwards up to the Cadillacs like Playboy and Penthouse. I'd guess my picks were destined for some low mid to mid tier rag, unless the guy had felt sorry for me, released me early because I was not porn any more than marriage material. Back in the village among the crowd leaving the subway, I relaxed slightly, though the embarrassment and shame remain. I tell no one what I've done. It's not only humiliation. As years pass, there's no one who'd care, be interested, or find it remarkable, either gross and disgusting or brave and defiant. So you, reader, are the first to know. So I hope that section is clearer now. Continuing on where we left off last week. Last week in Shiny Pretty Gothic, Edward brought a creepy biker friend to Ava's house, and Ava went to the movies and parties and did a lot of drugs. This is the chapter called Supply Closet, chapter 12, and we are going to read to the end of that chapter. The first party at our loft was okay, and the second, but the third and fourth... It's uncool to be against parties, so I tell Michelle that I need my own space. I know it's weird. I've been accepted into the pre-art class at Affinitas. If I pass that, I'll be able to start in the main program next year, or in the summer for a few classes. Well, I don't technically need space since Affinitas provides main program students with painting areas. It would certainly be handy, not to mention a very large feather in my cap amongst the other art students, to tell them I'm living in a loft. If I pass that, I'll be able to start in the main program next year, or in the summer for a few classes. Well, I don't technically need space since Affinitas provides main program students with painting areas. It would certainly be handy, not to mention a very large feather in my cap amongst the other art students to tell them that I'm living in a loft. But Rick, Neil, Edward, and their friends come and go at will, not my doing, Michelle's. Okay, kind of my doing. I could say no. I guess we're all trying on... Scratch that. I'm trying to hold on to that bubble of joy I felt with Edward when we first got together. If I'm honest with myself, I'm running. If I were to say no to more parties, would Michelle move out? No. Would the boys sneer and stop talking to me? Maybe, for a bit. Would Edward drop me? Panic. I'd be alone again. Even if it's not perfect with Edward, it's better than that. I find a small, dark basement apartment a few blocks from Affinitas. At street level, you enter through a glass door with one of those bars across the center to open it, past two offices, one of them a travel agency where I'll pay my rent. Go down some stairs and there, my door. The place has no windows, except for one on a heavy door with a metal hinge at the top, opening from the tiny bedroom into an even smaller, graveled courtyard-type space. It's not a courtyard, though, barely large enough for a lounger and surrounded all sides by yellow brick walls, dotted a story up and beyond with office windows. I don't know its purpose. Ventilation, I suppose. Inside, my suite's floor has the same tiles that my high school had. It's incredibly cheap for being right downtown. I put up a burgundy hanging lamp with long gold tassels and draped scarves and beads around, trying to create a bluesy 30s speakeasy. Contrarian. I left my arty loft just as I'm about to start art school, so I'm trying not to be arty. I don't want to be rocker chick hippie either, though as I look around, I realize both Edward and Janis Joplin would be right at home here. Well, Janis Joplin, if it wasn't a repurposed supply closet. I will never feel at home in this apartment. Breakfast at Edward's. Hash and coffee. Mid-morning snack. Hash and coffee. Lunch. Hash and coffee. Two knives jet permanently from the swirls of the stove's front right burner. I start a story about a woman making coffee with 3 powders: Nescafe, Coffee Mate, and sugar. She rinses a dirty cup from the sink and uses hot water from the tap. I've been up for a while, absorbed in The Last Temptation of Christ. The book is way better than the movie, even the second time around. Suddenly, Edward appears like a phantasm against the faded turquoise of his kitchen's walls, or should I say, a tatty, wrinkled, stained brown and white poncho with a crushed and greasy cowboy hat appears. Edward inside. I stare. Isn't your interview in an hour? I finally say. He's got a meeting at a recording studio for some get off welfare, make work program. Yep. He wears some pretty ugly outfits, but never anything this flashy in a dirt poor kind of way. I motion to the window. It's pouring outside. You'll be drenched within 2 blocks. He stinks of cooking oil and sweat. Yep, he grins. What about your guitar? I look at the battered guitar case in his right hand. What about it? He snaps. Nothing. I mean, it's going to get wet. He walks past me to the stove. Humiliation washes through me. What if Emmett, or someone from the old crowd, sees Edward, has seen me with him, and puts two and two together? I don't see those people anymore, but still, I'd rather they didn't. I have some self-respect left.